Hey everybody, welcome to the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast. My name is Robert Reams, the host and the producer of the show, and as always, I'm here to inform and inspire you, to educate you, and to motivate you so that you can take this information, put it to work in your lives, share it with your loved ones and your families. I've come a long way to have this opportunity to sit in front of you today. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast. My name is Robert Reams, the host and the producer of the show. And as always, I'm here to inform and inspire you, to motivate you and educate you so that you can take all of this information and put it to work in your lives and share it with your loved ones and your families. Now today, all these shows are special. I guess if I'm going to do a show, it's going to be a special show. Today is my friend Amy Rivera is going to be our guest, and she is the creator and founder of Rivera Hybrid Solutions, amongst other things, which I'm going to have her tell you about. She's the author of a book called Drop the Skirt, which is just a really great name for a book, and I'm going to let her explain that too. But first of all, I just want to welcome Amy. Amy, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on the show. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Now, I'm going to rehash a little bit that in the spring of 2020, back when I was still in LA and I was doing the podcast there, the version of this podcast there, Amy was a guest on my show, and it was a pretty epic show. So I've been looking for an opportunity to get Amy back on here. And I think today's the day. You're going to hear us talk about a lot of. We're going to go to some places today that maybe some of you have been before. Some things that you're hearing about. I'm going to make this connection between, and what I'm calling this show is the consumption connection, which is the state of our world, the consumption connection and the state of our world, and where do we go from here? That's the name of the show. So again, I'm going to be talking about consumption, food, drink, air, alcohol, media, conversation, everything that we have, consumption, video games, friends, whatever. All of this consumption, and make the connection between everything that's going on today, because there's a lot of stuff going on today. I want to preface it with there's some really great and awesome stuff going on. And I want to talk too about the fact that, and I said this on this show before, Trent, not this show, but your show, Trent. I said, and I firmly believe this, and I know this because God is on the throne, good will always win over evil. I want to start with that right away and just establish that, because that is a fact. However, there's a lot of stuff that's creeping in, and it's trying to make its way into our lives that maybe is not so good. So some of that stuff we're going to talk about today. But first of all, Amy, just let's rehash. Let's talk about you for a second. Tell us about you, Amy Rivera. Tell us about you. Tell us what you do. Tell us everything about you.
Sure. So what I'm known for is my rare disease. I was born with a rare disease called primary lymphedema. However, I was also diagnosed with an HTF mutation, which I'll later explain what that is.
Okay.
And then a central lymphatic dysfunction, meaning I'm 1 out of 7.1 million people in the world with this rare disorder.
Wow.
It was present at birth, but I was undiagnosed for over 32 years because the doctors didn't know what to do. They didn't know what they were looking at. And there was just a lack of information, education on the lymphatic system. So unfortunately, as I grew, my parents kind of gave up trying to find answers. And my right leg grew to be 200% larger than my left leg. It was at the elephantitis stage, which means it looked like a tree trunk. Mm-hmm. And if you just Google Amy Rivera leg, you'll see what I'm talking about. And so for 32 years, I felt alone, isolated. I didn't know anybody who looked like me. I didn't know anyone who felt like me. And I couldn't help but wonder, why? Why me? And one day I just got fed up with it and I decided to find answers. And not only was I able to find the diagnosis for myself, but I was able to trace it through his family history on my mother's side of the family, which blew me away because once I started to talk about it and be open about it, which is spreading awareness, all of a sudden my family was saying, wait a minute, your great grandmother had this. Oh, I have this. And they started connecting the dots. So when I started just going a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper, I saw the reason why I had this rare disease. And fast forward to where I am today, not only was I able to get that diagnosis and help my family, but I became the #1 lymphedema advocate in the world to help millions of others find their way as well.
It's great. That's great. That's fantastic. And I remember now the last show that we did was with Dr. Granzow. I
Correct.
remember that. Yeah, Dr.
Yes.
Granzow, and we did kind of an overview of lymphedema and
Mm-hmm.
lipedema.
Yes.
And you know, that's actually still on my Facebook page somewhere in the archives there. So that's a really good show if anybody ever wants to dig it up. But that's really great. Now, a couple things that stand out for. I remember there were two things that I wanted to mention. Number one, you are a frequent, maybe not so frequent, but you have spoken a lot at the Harvard of the Midwest.
Yes.
Wash U,
Yes.
Wash U, which is a great school. And that's, I mean, look, if you get any kind of an opportunity
Mm.
to speak in front of, you speak in front of students and you speak in front of faculty, correct?
Correct. And I also just joined the research team for WashU and Barnes to study lymphatic anomalies.
That's
Just
fantastic.
recently.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing I remember, and this is something we have in common, that you were going to get on the Doctors, the television show, and I remember that, and you made that happen. So I remember sitting in the gym actually here in Franklin watching that episode
Mm.
that you did. So that's another thing you did. You did the one, or did you do more?
I did the one, and with that show, I did our health series on. It was a Snapchat interview.
Mm-hmm.
Within those two shows, they each got over 1 million views, which is the best way to spread awareness about lymphedema and lipedema. And
That's
so I
great.
couldn't be happier with the show.
That's fantastic. And the Doctors was a great show. I wish the show was still on. I've often thought about like they should really bring it back, because I think maybe the audience, there'd be a bigger audience now with given everything that's going on that they may have had before.
I
I always
agree.
I always thought it was a great show. I don't know, I did probably because that was in the, you know, Dr. Phil's son Jay created that show, so I got to do about 10 episodes of that show. And every time I did it, I mean, it was just a fantastic experience. Now, I want to get, before we get into some of the other stuff we're going to talk about it with consumption, we talked about this on the phone. I want you to give everybody just kind of a 101 on the lymphatic system, what it is, what it does, and how this all works for us in our lives.
Absolutely. So when I talk about lymphedema, I don't actually go in about lymphedema because people don't understand what lymphedema is. They need to understand what the lymphatic system is, and everybody has one.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lymphatic system, we often hear, helps remove toxins, fight diseases, keeps you healthy. But it does so much more. It regulates your fluid balance. It, you have a lymphatic system in your brain, which removes the toxins from your brain that we'll talk about later, that we absorb, ingest. And it also helps your organs function even better. And it transports the fats through your body. It transports nutrients. It is the glue that holds your whole body together.
Mm-hmm.
We often think that the heart is the most important organ, which it is because it keeps us alive. So the heart is like the engine of your car. And would you ever put bad gas or oil in your car to blow your engine? No. But if we don't take care of our lymphatic system, it will blow our engine because that fluid regulates the entire body. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be born with a disease like I am, and you don't have to have cancer to develop
Mm-hmm.
lymphedema because everyone has a lymphatic system. So the things that we're going to talk about today is for everyone to improve their lymphatic health, and they will
Mm-hmm.
feel so much better, from the brain fog to the nutrition to bloating to swelling to just it takes your it's the glue for your whole body, and it is the gas and the fuel that keeps your body thriving. It is a
Right.
very important system, just as important as the cardiovascular and every other system in your body.
Right. Now, if somebody gets, say, a lymphatic massage, then that's just a major detoxification, cleansing, just everywhere.
Right,
Correct? Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and those are amazing.
Yeah.
Part of our therapy is MLD, which is manual lymphatic drainage massages.
Right.
And there's a special technique. It's not just like you go to a massage therapist and get a deep tissue massage, because your lymph vessels, you have lymph vessels that are directly underneath your skin, and then you have deep lymphatic vessels, like deep within your abdominal area and your pelvic area.
Right.
So there is a technique and there is a rhythm that you follow with the body to move that fluid out of those tissues, and then basically into the area where you would urinate it out or sweat it out, because that's how we remove toxins, or through bowel. Those are the
Right.
three ways. And so if you have a compromised lymphatic system like I do, these manual lymphatic drainage massages really help us remove that stuck fluid out of those limbs or those areas of the body that we are compromised.
Right.
But if you're a healthy person with a healthy lymphatic system, you can still reap the benefits of these massages.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So everybody listening now, everybody watching, you can see that Amy Rivera is an expert on this. So we're going to bring some of that, or a lot of that actually, because again, that, you know, is as important or more as the cardiovascular system and how our bodies work, and the effect of all consumption on how we feel, body, mind, spirit, working from the inside out, which you've heard me say a million times on this show. That's what this is going to be about. Now we're going to shift gears here for a second, Amy, and for everybody. And we're going to get into this, what I call the consumption connection. Mm-hmm. Now, consumption is what we take in, what we watch, we consume it. We consume it with our eyes, we consume it with our souls, we consume it with our bodies, we consume things emotionally. We consume a lot in our world. And what I want to make the connection with is our consumption and the elevation in the past, let's say 60, 70, 80 years, and even more recently, with everything that's going on in the world. Because what we consume as humans, what we are consuming here on this earth, is affecting our outcomes. Does that make sense, Amy?
Absolutely.
It's because what happens is, and this is another word you've heard me say a million times on this show, perspective. How we see ourselves, how we see the world, and how we see ourselves in this world. And when it comes to consumption, that has a lot to do with how we see ourselves. It develops, creates, and really lays the foundation for our perspectives. Now, the first thing I want to get into, actually the first two things I want to get into, is food, drink, and human movement. These are the first two things. Now, and jump in here, Amy, because some of the stuff you sent me is amazing, and I want you to jump in here when you get that urge, because this is a big deal, especially food, because food is life. What we take in our food, we assimilate, we digest, and it makes us who we are. So you've got 70 to 80% of your grocery store, everybody's grocery store, everybody across this country, 70 to 80% of your grocery store is literally toxic poison.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form. Minor or very, very major. Some of it happens immediately. Some of it happens over time. I'll use the word amazing, but in a very negative way. The amazing part of that machine is that it happens subtly and it happens over time. It doesn't hit you right away.
Nope.
A little bit of indigestion here or there, like you get sick or get some food poisoning or whatever. But for the most part, you take in food now that will affect you 20 years from now.
Oh, generations from now.
Generations
from now. And people, when they think of food, they think just calories. Food is more than calories. It's
Right.
information for your body.
Yes.
Whole foods from the earth, like fruits, vegetables, herbs, they all signal, they all give signs to your genes. They're
Yes.
telling you how to heal, how to repair, how
Yep.
to protect.
Yep.
And for example, like broccoli, it can switch on the genes to fight cancer.
Right.
Broccoli,
Right. Right.
you know, and people are like, oh, I don't eat that, but I'll go to a fast food restaurant and eat this because it's cheaper. But
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
cheaper?
Well, no, it's really in the long run, it's much
Mhm.
more expensive,
Correct.
both financially and in terms of health.
Of health.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
so yeah, you're talking about like, I mean, each, food has codes, and these codes emulate in our body,
Mm-hmm.
and they establish themselves and they create a certain outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. This just came to me.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's so much poison in our grocery stores? What's the motivation behind that?
Money.
From whomever?
Money.
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 Great answer. God,
So
that was like, I didn't mean that as a test question, but boy, you passed the test. That's exactly right. Go on. Explain that,
yes.
Amy.
So just how whole foods can have a positive effect on your body, these toxic foods have a negative effect on your body. They have these chemicals in their foods that produce signals to, instead of healing, they trigger inflammation, disease, dysfunction. And what happens when we're sick and ill? Not just for us, but our generations to come after. We
Right.
have to rely on the government to then pay, we rely on the government to help us because we're supposed to trust, the food pyramid. It's upside
Right.
down. It's upside down for a purpose. And we grew up learning that you had to follow the food pyramid. But why?
Yep.
Because then, when we have to rely then on prescriptions to then cover the symptoms of these toxic foods that we're filling our body, because then the government makes money off the pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceuticals makes money off of the government. And here we are suffering, the consumer.
Right.
Mhm.
So think about this model, because, and again, I'm thinking like, okay, what is behind this? What's the purpose? So I guess it would be safe to say, and I already know the answer to this, it'd be safe to say that the food industry prioritizes profits over any type of healing.
They spend billions of dollars to study epigenetics so they can know how to write the instructions for our DNA per the food. It's not, that's what they do. When I was in DC lobbying for lymphedema and lymphatic diseases, I saw these people lobbying for these toxic foods.
Yep.
And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
That's where my research really started, when I started to see the amount of money they were using to lobby against us.
Yeah, and you think in terms of like when somebody lobbies, they're usually lobbying for something that's, I mean, if it's usually good, they don't have to lobby. It's usually
Right.
lobbying comes from somebody like, well, I want to sneak something in there.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go next to physical activity. Now, physical activity, our bodies are meant for locomotion. We are born to move. We are born to run, jump, climb, bend, stretch, lift. We're born to do this. And we do this as little kids. We come out and we are running and jumping like crazy. But at some point in everybody's life, and it's different for everybody, at some point we get the signal to stop that. And whether it's something like you got made fun of on the playground, or your mom or your dad said something to you negative, or you saw some kid that was just better than you, or maybe, God forbid, there was an injury or some kind of a thing that stopped your movement. We were born to do this. If you take a look at any little kid, I can remember this so well in my daughter's, there was a gymboree thing going on when she was like 4 months old. And I remember all these little kids crawling around on the mats. Number one, they all moved like crazy. They were just moving. And the other thing is, this stood out to me more than anything. Everybody sat up. These little kids sat like Indian style kind of thing. And they sat up in absolutely impeccable posture.
Yes.
And it was like, I remember seeing that. I was like, that really, really, really stood out to me, because today Many people don't move, they don't bend, stretch, climb, lift, and we are living in this very, very poor forward flexion of the spine posture, which is destroying our necks, which is destroying our circulation, which is destroying the signals to our brain. I mean, there's so many negative things. You talk about that, like sitting is the new smoking. Oh my God, that could.
I actually said that on my Decode the Drain podcast. Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it really is. So we take food, we take movement, and then we take these two things and we fast forward to today, and like you talk about generation by generation by generation, because if you talk about processed foods, I mean, really processed foods started with really kind of the onset of sliced bread, we could say.
Yes.
And I think that was probably in the 20s, I want to say, or maybe the teens, somewhere in there. And the processing began, and then processing for other foods just began. It's just escalated generation by generation by generation by generation. And the outcome that we have today is that a lot of processing leaves behind the natural whole food information and components of what we're consuming.
And it's funny you say that, because when I was in Europe, I ate the same type of food I would eat here in the States, and I had zero inflammational triggers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I hear that all the time. Somebody goes to Europe, they go to Italy, or they go to France, or even other countries, and they're like, oh my God, I ate carbs, I ate pasta, I ate pizza. They come back and they've lost weight.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much cheese. I was in Austria, and for 3 weeks, there was so much cheese and wine and beer.
Yeah.
And I ate a lot of the cheese.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the inflammational issues, the swelling, the joints that just felt, they hurt. My hands weren't swollen, my legs weren't swollen, and even my brain fog was much clearer.
Yep. So let's take that into let's take that into today, where again, like we are literally consuming like a slow poison. And you referred to this towards the beginning, and then what we do is then we go to and we take a pill, or we take some sort of a something to counteract that.
And I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
What I would like to say with two things. First, the thing about movement. When I was first diagnosed with primary lymphedema, every physician I came across said, do not work out. And it'll exasperate your symptoms. And I knew when I moved, I felt better. So I started to question their advice. And so I started a log of when I moved, how did I feel? Did my leg get softer? Was I able to do more each time? And as I continued to do that, then I got into the gym and I started lifting, and I started doing all these muscle movements, not really running, because I really couldn't run with the size of my leg. But what I learned was, as I moved, the muscle pump would push the fluid out of the tissues like this. And that was actually the best thing for lymphatic drainage. It was the complete opposite.
Amazing. So what they advised you to do medically, you did the opposite, and it worked for you.
I think I've done that my whole life.
Yeah.
And so just the other day I went to the doctor, just a normal yearly checkup. I do not get vaccines because of my lymphatic disorder, number one. And number two is, I don't believe in these vaccines are helping us more than hurting us in most situations. So when I went to the doctor, she's finished with my visit, and she's typing at her computer, and she goes, oh, it's time for your flu vaccine. Would you like to get that? And I go, well, I don't actually do that. And she stopped. She goes, what do you mean? And I explained why. She goes, well, that's exactly why you need to get it. So no. With my body, I cannot process that toxic substance that you're injecting into me. And I saw the color leave her face. And then oh, okay.
Yeah, people have asked me that over the years. I've had clients ask me, Robert, did you get your flu shot? And I'm like, well, no. And you didn't get your flu shot. I'm like, well, I never get the flu.
I can't tell you the last time I got the flu.
Yeah.
So they're indoctrinated to think that you have to get these things.
Right. Yeah, I remember I had, over this last Christmas, I had one of those influenzas. Now I did get it, and I got it for like 3 days, and I got hit pretty hard. But the time before that, the last time I had it, and the only time that I can really remember in my adult life, was 1998, which was 27 years ago. So when somebody asked me that, I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't get the flu, and it kind of shuts down the conversation.
And I said the exact same thing. I'm like, I can't tell you the last time I had the flu.
Right. So, and the other thing I want to mention, and I don't know, maybe this is available, but and then I want to get off that because vaccines can be kind of touchy,
Yes, and
borderline.
Everyone's different. Everybody's different, and I respect that. I do, because
100%.
Everybody's different. But for me, my body cannot handle it.
Yeah, we need to be able to make our own choices on everything like this, and make our own choices, and just let that be that,
and be respectful of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Somebody wants to do whatever, that's fine.
Yes.
Now, it's not something that I really feel that I need, nor do I want, and it's just not necessary.
Right.
But so let's go into the connection of things like, we'll dive a little deeper into the rabbit hole here. So let's talk about depression, anxiety, and some of the stuff that's going on right now. There's a lot of violence in our society right now. There's a lot of people that are shooting, shooting whatever, shooting up schools, or shooting up stores, or shooting people.
Starting in kindergarten.
Yeah, and so if you look at data on this, or if you look at trends, you look, years back, and again, I'm talking about, before maybe the 60s into the 50s and the 40s. I mean, something like that was pretty much non-existent.
Yes.
It was very rare.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, especially in the 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, this violence overall has escalated like exponentially.
Yeah.
So has this, again, I'm talking consumption connection.
Correct.
We're talking about the massive increase in psych drugs. We're talking about the massive increase of environmental toxins. We're talking about the monumental increase in just overall bad air. We're talking about consumption of media that is negative, television that is negative. I don't care what anybody in Hollywood says, or people that make video games. When you constantly show this, and you have a young person that grows up watching this and viewing this, look, 99.9,000% of the people that consume all this are not going to be affected by it. It's not going to affect their lives or how they react or how they operate. But there's a small part of that percentage that is. And so we have to take a look at that. And that's what I wanted to do with this show, was connect those dots and just make that connection with the elevation of consumption of all these things that I just mentioned, plus more. They're toxic things in our environment and within our beings.
Right.
And the connection of the negative shit that's happening in our lives and in our space, in and around us, every single day, that we see in the media, that we see in our lives, that we even go outside in our front door sometimes and we see. Make that connection, Amy. What are your thoughts on that? And then we're going to get a little deeper down the hole here. Sure.
Well, the first thing is, what we ingest that is out of alignment with how we've been created, there are consequences that have a ripple effect through every part of us, physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yes.
And since 2020, we have ingested so much content on TikTok, Reels, YouTube, any platform of information that is negatively impacting our lives. Instead of being outdoors and ingesting the things that were made and created for us to live in harmony and peace. And that's the first thing, is, like you said, anything we ingest all these things, it's out of alignment with how we're created.
Right.
And we've been created to thrive in a community. And
Yes.
when 2020 happened and we were all isolated, that's
Mm-hmm.
when you saw the mental health crisis skyrocket.
Really
That's
skyrocket. Yeah.
skyrocket. You
Mm-hmm.
saw the diseases skyrocket. You saw the depression skyrocket. You saw all of these things that do exist in the world prior to this. Like
Yes.
you said, it was a small percentage, but it
Mm-hmm.
was very, very small.
Right.
And when we were isolated and separated, I can't tell you how many people I saw who took their lives during that time because of this. They couldn't
Mm-hmm.
handle it.
Yeah.
They couldn't survive.
Mm-hmm.
And all I felt was just pain for them because they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to separate from that,
Right.
from that
Right.
device.
Right. Like we talked about at the beginning. It's sort of
Yes.
like, good will always win over evil. But
Yes.
boy, did evil creep up especially during that time, and it's been kind of
Yes.
creeping up again since
Mhm.
since the mid 20th century and into our
Mhm.
21st century here. It's just creeping its way through, and it's
Mhm.
got such a presence right now,
Mhm.
and it sometimes can be overwhelming for people.
Right.
And you take like what we're talking about when you and I grew up, or even before that, or when our parents grew up and their parents grew up. We didn't have, and this is kind of a basic 101, but people have to really grasp this. We did not have social media. We did not have a computer in our hand
Mm-mm.
starting at 7 years old, growing up in this country until what, the last, I want to say 15, 17 years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been, yeah, now I remember you making reference to certain situations like, oh my God, that was right before everybody had a video camera on their phone. And I'd say
yes,
something like, I wish I could have caught that.
right.
But now,
Or you're like, I'm glad there wasn't a video camera.
yeah. But now everybody has that.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you can make the connection between, and this is a
Yeah.
really important point that I want to make. You can make the connection between, there's always been some of this stuff going on. Human nature we've always been somewhat separated in our
Right.
beliefs, in our
Yes.
behaviors, and everything about our beings here
Mhm.
on planet Earth. But what social media has done has elevated the volume
Mhm.
and the emphasis on that. We've always been the same. And you take a look at some of these shows like Game of Thrones or some of these other shows. My wife watches these shows, and they're all about greed,
Mhm.
money,
Mhm.
power,
Division.
influence,
Yes.
division.
Division.
And it's human nature has not changed since the Stone Age. But
It's been that way
what
since the very beginning.
exactly. But what
Mhm.
now we have this mass amount and undercurrent of technology that's just elevated this so much. And people, people sometimes say, what's going on in our world? What's happened to our world? You're just seeing the elevation and the result
Yes.
of something that's been going on for building since the beginning of humankind.
And
But
we have more access to it.
yeah,
Before, if it wasn't on the news, we didn't know, we didn't hear.
totally.
And we don't know if it was the truth or not on the news compared to what we're seeing now. We're like, well, we're seeing all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
still don't know is it accurate or not, but
Right.
it's coming to us at a speed that we are not equipped
Right.
for.
Think about the news outlets that we watch and the media outlets and the
Mhm.
information outlets that we see. You'll see the same. You'll see a take on a given situation that's different every single entity that it's coming from.
Yes.
Now, okay, so a person watching that, including me and you, we're thinking like, okay, what's the truth here?
Yeah. And how
Where?
confusing is that
Yeah, yeah,
for people who can't distinguish what the truth is
right.
or don't do the research themselves. They don't know the truth. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did see that where every news outlet they said something different to their own agenda. It
Yep.
wasn't the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It was to a certain agenda. And you know, like you said, what we watch, what we read, what we listen to. My pastor always says, be careful who you listen to because
Right.
that feeds your soul.
Oh, big time, big time. I talk about that all the time. I've done a couple of shows here with Trent here at Spread the Positive on what I call the the marketing is the demise of wellness
Yes.
in our country. Now, it doesn't have to be, but we get different information about fitness, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, wellness. We get all these different takes. Same thing in our industry. I'll get 10 looks at a kettlebell swing. And I'll go, okay, I'm looking at that and I know which one to use or not to use.
Mm-hmm.
But the person that doesn't understand all that, they're going to go, okay, now which one do I see? I got 10 different renditions of this. Which one do I emulate?
Mm-hmm.
And so you get this all across the board. And again, just to bring that connection back to consumption,
Mm-hmm.
the consumption connection, because all this stuff is related. Because if you think about the Big Four of life, my model that I've always worked with: optimum exercise, which is physical fitness; optimum nutrition, which is the nutrition and the food and the drink and the nutrients that we take in or that we don't take in;
Mm-hmm.
proper rest, and which is our recovery, our sleep; and then the bottom of that big four, which is really culminates from the first three aspects, is our ability to manage stress management.
And
So
stress management negatively just weighs you down emotionally, and
right.
it literally will rewire your brain and suppress your immunity and fuel that disease. Even
Mm-hmm.
though you may not be sick, you might have that genetic factor in your body that's just waiting to be like woken up,
Right.
just
Right.
like, and that's what happened with my own disease when I found the history. And in my family, it was trauma and disease and sin. And I mean, I could tell you right now, with my family, there's nothing new under the sun. I will say that. And
Mm-hmm.
everything you could think of has happened in my family, from robbery to extreme things, and that has been passed down in my family from generation to generation,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately on my mother's side, which is
Right.
where I have this rare disease.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's,
So
it's
nothing surprises you.
nothing
Nothing
surprises me.
surprises you.
And but the good news is, we hear about neuroplasticity, but people don't really know what that means.
Right.
And that is where you can reshape the brain waves.
Yes.
You can rewire your brain. What we focus on is what we become.
Right. Right.
So there is hope.
Yep, yep, there is, and that's what I talk about perspective,
Yes,
and I talk. Another thing I say on here is I say, what you think, that's what you are.
exactly.
And
And
so
yeah.
I was going to say, so you have to take a look at all this consumption that
Hmm.
we're talking about here, and I'm talking about everything, and you have to take it in, and then you have to think, okay, like neuroplasticity, let it generate in your system,
Hmm.
and you digest it. But what comes out is under your control. It really is.
It really
And
is.
we talk, spirituality.
Hmm.
Sometimes that's also another touchy subject, like politics and religion and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And I don't care if what religion it is. I
Hmm.
mean, look, I'm God fearing and God is on the throne. I know that that is non-disputable to me,
Hmm.
and that's just what I believe and what I know to be true. But anybody out there, even if it's not Christianity, find something that you can believe in as a foundation that will make you see the good in some of this evil that's coming through. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
It does.
I mean, you got to be able to, again, it doesn't have to be whatever you want to believe in. I'm not here, I'm not on the pulpit preaching. I'm saying, what I am saying is find something good, because, like we said here at the beginning, good will always win over evil.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like this, the question is out there is, wow, evil's making a real good run for this. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it really is. And
yeah,
the thing about, I now want to go back to movement real quick, because
mm-hmm,
I want to use this testimony for somebody who's listening or watching.
mm-hmm,
Because if you think you can't do it, I want to share this testimony with you.
yep,
When I was surviving my disease,
mm-hmm,
when it was at my worst, my organs were failing, my leg was 200% larger, I was bloated everywhere, I had one surgery after another. I was told I would always be disabled. I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 35.
Mm-hmm.
which was years ago. I'm past 35, way past 35. But
Yes.
at the age of 40, if you see these medals in the back of behind me, at the age of 40, I entered my first and only bodybuilding competition, and I placed third and fourth.
I remember that.
And
I
my leg
remember
was not
that.
200% larger, and I was able to control my inflammation and my swelling to the
Mm-hmm.
point that I was able to stand on the stage and place.
Yeah,
I mean, I lost
that's
to a
incredible.
17-year-old gymnast, so I can't be too mad, you know? But if I'm able to do that, someone who's listening, you're able to do that step, whatever that step is,
Mm-hmm.
you can do it, but it starts with renewal of the mind.
Right. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%. So you can see here, Amy Rivera, if you want to get some shit done, you call Amy because she is a doer, and I've always admired you for that ever since I met you. And we met. You're still in St. Louis, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Okay. Okay. So in the St. Louis area. So from here, Amy, where do we go? Where do we
As
go?
well, here's the thing. We can renew our mind
Mm-hmm.
through these practices:
Right.
prayer,
Mm-hmm.
meditation,
Yep.
connection.
Yep.
And the one thing that we didn't talk about was being out in nature.
Yes. Yeah.
Being out
Talk
in
about
nature.
that for a second, because that's something I know you wanted to bring up, and we want to hear
Yeah,
that.
so if anyone follows me on social media, they know I love being outside. I live in the country on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I love hiking. I love the outdoors. Part of that is because I wasn't able to experience these things as a child because of my disease.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of that was when I'm outside, I feel connected.
Yes.
I feel energized. I feel the toxins leave in my body, and I feel the plants, the air, the animals just really decreasing the stress hormones and putting me in a better mood. But it also improved my immunity. The
Mm-hmm.
more I was outside, the better I felt. My son, he goes outside a lot. He plays outside a lot, and he's probably one of the dirtiest kids, but he's never sick. He's never gotten COVID. He doesn't
Right.
have COVID vaccine. He
Right.
doesn't get the flu.
Right.
He's just a strong kid. And I am a sole believer is because he's outside a lot.
Well, he's building his immunity outside. I can remember there was a bit that George Carlin did once. He said, "Yeah, we used to go in the lake and in the river, and we were like spitting up dirt, and we were drinking. We couldn't even see in the water, and none of us got sick."
I mean, I drank out of the water hose.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh yeah.
I've done that for. I mean, I am that way, and
Yeah.
I can't help but to connect that because we were, again, I said this in the beginning, we were designed to harmonize with the earth.
Yes.
The earth was created for us, and we were created for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we somehow lost that sight.
Yep, yep. We have to think about, and I think this is a really good way to close this. And I want to talk about your book, and bring that up. But the same thing. You remind me of when I was a kid. And I know this, I mean, you hear this sometimes, and people that go like that are our kids' age, 25, they're like, "What the fuck is that? The Stone Age?" You know, it's like, but
My son says I'm aged because I was born in the 1900s.
Yeah. It's like, well, I got a generation on you, Amy. So the thing is, but we were outside. I remember we played football, basketball, baseball. I mean, I can remember shoveling the snow off the driveway to play basketball when it was 5 degrees.
Yes.
I mean, we would do this. We were outside in nature.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. Yeah, go ahead.
I would eat the tomatoes and strawberries out of my mom's garden. I would just wipe it off on my shirt and eat it.
Well, I went over to the neighbor's garden and got theirs. I didn't eat it anyway. So, but anyway, but we've got to get back to that because we are inside. We are looking at devices. We're looking at blue light, which is another form of consumption that's really screwing our brains up and our perspectives. We've got to get back to that. And if you can plead with your kids to get the dang phone out of their hands for 15, 20 minutes, half hour a day, and get outside and do something, or go inside of a gym and get active. We're born to move, we're born to climb, we're born to run, we're born to stretch. We're not doing that. Physical education in kids. Here's another connection that we can make. Here's a consumption connection or a disconnection that physical activity has virtually left, or physical fitness and physical fitness and recess has basically left our schools, and you've had all this other negative stuff elevate.
Right.
Now, coincidence? I don't think so.
No.
So we've got to get back to that. And you've got to think about when you go to the grocery store, look at Whole Foods, look at labels, look at things, pay attention, because this stuff is our consumption. The consumption connection is the foundation. I truly believe this, and I know it because I've seen it, and there's no other. To me, I haven't seen another explanation for it yet. The elevation of consumption of some of the crap that we take in everywhere, visually, physically, mentally, and spiritually, has been the demise of our society and some of the things that we see. Because you know what? Guns have always been there. My dad
I grew up with guns. I grew up with guns. I grew up hunting. My dad taught me gun safety at a very young age.
Yep.
I didn't experience gun violence until 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't.
Violence has always been there.
It's always been there.
Medicine has always been there.
Always been there.
But medicine up till a certain point, again, you're talking 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, is more synthetic now.
Yes.
And we have to go back to, this is another thing before we wrap. This is another thing that really, if you go back and you look at natural remedies for certain things, Chinese medicine's been around for thousands and thousands of years. You see some of these things, and you see these modalities that are natural that really, really work. The Amish community.
I was just going to say that. I was literally just going to say that.
There's no sickness.
None.
There's none. And so, they don't have all this other stuff going on.
No.
So now you bring this stuff in and you're a quack. You're a whack. You're like, wait, but that stuff's not, that stuff doesn't work. What's wrong with you?
Stuff. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I wanted to say too is that what we've got to lose in our society and how with what we're dealing with people and families and friends and everybody is because if you believe a certain way, no matter what, you're not, because you believe differently than me. I'm not more omnipotent than you. My life is not better than you. I'm not better than you. We just think differently, and we've got to be able to accept that too.
Absolutely, because I'm sorry.
I was going to say, just with this conflict that we're seeing everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. You go into the grocery, you see people arguing.
Yeah.
It's like, look, let us be who we are. And I'm talking about everybody. What was the song by the Beatles? Let it be.
Let it be.
Let us be.
It's by design.
Yeah. And in the 60s, if you remember, you don't remember because I was born in the late 50s and into the 60s. I was a little kid, and I can remember my oldest brother, in the 60s, there was peace and love. And there really was, like real peace and love. We didn't solve things. I mean, there was some, some violence and some fighting back then, but there was real peace and love. And you peace and love lovers out there, let's bring that back.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people now that want to emulate peace and love and say they're about peace and love, they're not about peace and love.
Only if you agree with them.
Exactly. So listen, we could talk for a long time, and we'll probably revisit the same because there's a lot to talk about here because there's so much consumption, and there's some of the things that we didn't. There was something on my phone I was going to read today, but I'm going to save that for the next one because it's pretty powerful. But I want to bring up two things. Number one, your awesome book. It's called Drop the Skirt. Tell us quickly about what this book's about, Amy.
Sure. So it's not what it sounds like.
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, what do you mean you're dropping your skirt?
Right.
So this skirt was the very skirt I was wearing when I had the revelation of being my own advocate. And when this happened, I was having a conversation with someone, and they had really described themselves as fat, and I had never seen them this way. I see people for who they are. The beauty of my disease gives me the ability to see people for who they are, not what they look like.
Right.
And
right.
when I heard her say that, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
So for years, I hid my leg under skirts and dresses because I didn't know what it was and I didn't know how to explain it. So I thought if I hid it, it would just go away. But that's not how things work.
Right.
And when she said that to me, I felt compelled to share my secret with her. And that was the day I dropped my skirt and I stopped hiding my disease and I became an advocate, not for myself, but for other people who are suffering in silence.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amy Rivera, you are a powerhouse, I got to tell you. And you know, the other thing is, just to add on to that really quick, is that, you know, there was somebody the other day that I saw something about, because the fitness business and the fitness industry is all so much about aesthetics and looks and the external exposure. And you see somebody like you were just talking about there. It's like you see somebody and you want to, you know, there's certain people that will judge certain people by the way they look.
Yeah.
And the person, you have to think about, well, consider the source. Who's doing the judging? And do you want this person, or do you even give a shit what this person says or thinks or whatever they have going on? I personally don't. When I see somebody that I think like, well, gosh, maybe their look is different. Maybe they look different than when I saw them before. I'm going to go, okay, maybe that person's just going through something that I don't know about, that I'm not going to make a judgment about, but I'm going to say, hey, look, inside that person's still the same.
Absolutely.
The external presentation, that can take on a lot of different looks and a lot of different nuances, but we have to think about the foundation of an individual and who they are and what they are and who they want to be and and say like, okay, we can fix looks. We got filters. We got makeup. That's easy to fix.
We're plastic surgeons.
Yeah, we got plastic surgeons.
That's easy to fix, really.
Yeah, so the message out there to everybody too is when we're talking about consumption, the consumption connection, think about too, it's like, well, don't judge a book by its cover. You know, because, you know, that's just, I mean, who are you to do that? And usually you're not right. So the other thing I want to, yeah, exactly. And the other thing I want to do is just bring up, you know, my book, Anti-Diet, The Paradigm Has Shifted. This book is a culmination of a lot of my work. I wrote this with my partner, Chef Andy. There's a bunch of really awesome recipes in here. There's things, you know, the body image, self-esteem connection, the 8 elements of life and longevity, the plate structure system, the RR push-pull press system. It's all in here. The RR lifeline of action. This is a book about life and working again from the inside out, body, mind, and spirit, getting the life that you want, achieving awesome health optimization and weight control. This is your book. This is your personal manual. You can get both of these on Amazon, right? You get your book on Amazon, right, Amy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So go to Amazon, get these books. And listen, today, once again, Amy, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been really great. We will most likely revisit this and do this again because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But everybody tuning in, Amy Rivera, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And the one last thing I want to remind people is our choices echo across generations.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And that's future generations too. What we do now is going to affect everybody ongoing.
Absolutely.
God bless everybody.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the show. And don't forget the Revive and Sustain Wellness app. Go to www.reviveandsustain.com and download the app. 42 years of my experience at your fingertips. Till next time, everybody, in great health.